Horror School. The iron gates of Blackwood Academy loomed over Amelia like a rusted maw. Its peeling paint and chipped gargoyles whispered of a bygone era, a time when knowledge resided not just in textbooks, but in the very stones of the building. Amelia, clutching her acceptance letter, felt a shiver crawl up her spine despite the summer heat. It wasn't the oppressive silence, nor the overgrown ivy that choked the facade. It was a feeling, a prickling unease that settled deep in her gut. Blackwood Academy wasn't Amelia's first choice. It was her only choice, a scholarship for the academically gifted. A chance to escape the stifling mundanity of her small town had lured her in. Besides, Blackwood held a certain allure, a reputation for nurturing brilliant minds and fostering groundbreaking research. Little did Amelia know, the research at Blackwood wasn't confined to textbooks or laboratories. The first day was a blur of Gothic architecture, creaking floorboards, and hushed whispers from fellow students. There was a palpable tension in the air, an unspoken fear that lurked beneath the surface of academic ambition. Amelia met her roommate, Clara, a pale girl with eyes that held a curious mixture of intelligence and apprehension. Blackwood's courses were as unconventional as its atmosphere. History lessons delved into the forbidden, dissecting forgotten rituals and suppressed myths. Science classes explored the fringes of human understanding, venturing into realms of telekinesis and alchemy. Professor Blackwood, the headmaster with a piercing gaze and an unsettling smile, seemed to relish unsettling their young minds. One particularly stormy night, Amelia stumbled upon a hidden library tucked away in a forgotten corner of the building. The air inside was thick with dust and the scent of ancient paper. Cobwebs draped the shelves, and flickering candles cast grotesque shadows on the walls. As she browsed the dusty tomes, a peculiar book caught her eye. Its leather cover felt cold in her touch, the pages brittle and filled with cryptic symbols and indecipherable text. Intrigued, Amelia took the book back to her dorm room. Clara, ever the skeptic, scoffed at the archaic symbols. Probably some ancient tax code, she muttered, burying herself in a calculus textbook. Yet, a spark of curiosity flickered within Amelia. Days blurred into weeks as she toiled over deciphering the symbols. Slowly, a horrifying truth began to emerge. The book detailed a forbidden ritual, a gateway to a realm beyond the veil of reality, a realm of darkness and unspeakable horrors. The chilling descriptions sent shivers down Amelia's spine. More importantly, the ritual mentioned a specific date, the upcoming full moon. Panic surged through her. This wasn't dusty history. This was a looming threat. Torn between fear and responsibility, Amelia confided in Clara. To her surprise, Clara wasn't as dismissive as she expected. Clara spoke of rumors, whispers of a student who mysteriously disappeared years ago, around a similar full moon. A cold realization dawned on Amelia. Professor Blackwood wasn't just teaching. He was planning something sinister. Determined to stop him, Amelia and Clara embarked on a desperate research spree. Ancient texts, dusty grimoires, anything that offered a clue to counter the ritual became their sole focus. Sleep became a luxury, replaced by frantic page-turning and feverish discussions under the dim light of their dorm room. As the full moon loomed large, whispers intensified. Students began acting strangely, their eyes glazed over, their movements jerky and unnatural. The school felt charged with an unseen energy, a malevolent force seeping through the ancient walls. The night of the ritual arrived, cloaked in an oppressive darkness. Amelia and Clara, armed with their hastily gathered knowledge, snuck out of their dorm. Following cryptic directions gleaned from the forbidden book, they found themselves in Blackwood's abandoned wing, a place shrouded in darkness and dread. An unsettling chanting echoed across the desolate corridors, pulling them towards a hidden chamber. Pushing open the creaking door, they were met with a sight that froze the blood in their veins. Professor Blackwood, surrounded by students with vacant eyes, stood before a swirling vortex of inky blackness. The air crackled with a dark energy that threatened to consume all existence. Before Amelia and Clara could react, Professor Blackwood turned, his smile wider, devoid of warmth. He recognized them, his eyes glinting with a chilling amusement. "Ah, my inquisitive students," he rasped, his voice distorted by the unseen power he wielded. "Come to witness the dawn of a new era." Amelia, her voice trembling, confronted him. "This isn't knowledge, Professor. It's madness." Professor Blackwood threw his head back and laughed, a sound that echoed through the chamber, devoid of humor, filled only with a chilling madness. "Madness? Knowledge is power, Amelia, and with this power, I shall usher in a new age." He gestured towards the swirling vortex, its tendrils reaching out like grasping claws. Panic clawed at Amelia's throat. She needed a plan, and fast. Desperate, she rummaged through her backpack, the one she'd brought specifically for this night. Inside, nestled amongst her notebooks, was the very book she'd found in the hidden library. It was a gamble, but it was their only hope. Clara, ever the pragmatist, grabbed Amelia's arm. "What are you doing? We need to get out of here." "No," Amelia said, her voice firm despite the terror gnawing at her. "There might be a way to stop this." Professor Blackwood's laughter died down, replaced by a smirk. "A mere student thinks to defy me?" He took a menacing step toward them. Ignoring him, Amelia flipped through the book, frantically searching for the counter-ritual. The symbols swam before her eyes, but adrenaline fueled her, sharpening her focus. Finally, she found it, a series of intricate symbols drawn around the invocation circle, accompanied by a complex chant. Clara, seeing Amelia's resolve, pulled out a piece of charcoal from her backpack, a relic from an abandoned art project. Together, they worked furiously. With trembling hands, Clara traced the symbols onto the dusty floor, mimicking the ones from the book. Professor Blackwood watched, amusement morphing into annoyance. "Foolish girls," he sneered. "You have no idea what you're doing." Amelia, ignoring him again, began chanting. The words were ancient, unfamiliar, but she poured her fear and determination into them. Her voice resonated through the chamber, weaving a counterpoint to the professor's invocation. As they chanted, a struggle for dominance ensued. The air crackled with opposing energies, light battling against encroaching darkness. The vortex pulsed in response, its tendrils whipping around the room, seeking to extinguish the flickering candles that were their only light source. Clara, her face flushed with exertion, continued drawing, sweat trickling down her forehead. Amelia's voice grew hoarse, but she pressed on, fueled by a desperate hope. Suddenly, the vortex lurched. The symbols drawn by Clara glowed with an ethereal light, pushing back against the darkness. The professor stumbled back, a look of shock contorting his features for the first time. His control was faltering. You dare interrupt the great work?" he snarled, his voice laced with fear. Emboldened, Amelia pumped her voice into the chant. With a final shriek that echoed through the chamber, she finished the sequence. The effect was instantaneous. The vortex convulsed, tendrils retreating with shrieking whines. The room pulsed with an ethereal light that chased away the encroaching darkness. The students, their vacant expressions replaced with confusion, stumbled back. Professor Blackwood howled in frustration, his eyes wide with despair. The dark energy he'd harnessed crackled around him, unruly and dangerous. It lashed out, a malevolent force seeking an outlet. In that moment, something shifted. The energy, drawn by Professor Blackwood's desperation, turned on him. With a deafening crack, it enveloped him. His scream was cut short as he vanished, consumed by the very power he'd sought to wield. Silence descended, thick and heavy. The room was plunged back into darkness, illuminated only by the flickering candles. Amelia and Clara, weak and trembling, stared at the empty spot where the professor had stood. It was over. The aftermath was a blur. The remaining students, freed from the professor's control, were bewildered and frightened. The school authorities, alerted by the commotion, arrived to find a scene of utter chaos. Amelia and Clara were hailed as heroes, though they felt more like survivors. The forbidden book was confiscated, its secrets locked away once more. but the experience left an indelible mark on them. Blackwood Academy wasn't shut down, but it changed. The curriculum was revised, the focus shifted away from the fringes of knowledge. Professor Blackwood's name became a taboo whispered in hushed tones, a cautionary tale against the pursuit of forbidden power. Years passed. Amelia and Clara, now successful in their chosen fields, remained close. Yet, they never forgot the horrors they faced within the walls of Blackwood Academy. They knew that the darkness they had encountered wasn't vanquished, merely contained. One stormy night, Amelia received a cryptic email. It contained a faded photograph of Blackwood Academy, a single window glowing an unnatural emerald green. The caption below read simply, "They haven't forgotten." A coldness washed over Amelia, a knot of dread tightening in her stomach. She knew what this meant. The darkness they thought they'd subdued, the entity Professor Blackwood attempted to summon, was stirring again. And this time it had a target. Clara, sensing Amelia's distress, rushed over. The photo lay on the table, a silent accusation. Clara's breath hitched. "Blackwood?" she whispered, her eyes wide with fear and recognition. They didn't need words. They knew what they had to do. Returning to Blackwood felt like stepping back into a nightmare. The familiar oppressive atmosphere now held a tangible malice. The students, oblivious to the unseen danger, seemed to walk in a daze. Following their memory, Amelia and Clara navigated the labyrinthine corridors of the abandoned wing, the air thick with dust and the stench of decay. The room where they had faced Professor Blackwood years ago remained untouched, the remnants of the ritual circle still faintly visible on the floor. This time, however, the room felt different. The air crackled with a malevolent energy, and the source was obvious: the single window depicted in the photograph. As they approached, the emerald glow intensified, swirling tendrils of darkness emanating from within. "There," Clara breathed, pointing at a worn inscription etched above the window. It was a fragment of the counter-ritual, a clue left behind by someone, perhaps a student from Professor Blackwood's failed attempt. Hope flickered within Amelia. Maybe there was still a chance. They searched the room frantically, their eyes scanning the dusty shelves and forgotten corners. Finally, beneath a fallen tapestry, they found it, a hidden compartment containing the missing pieces of the counter-ritual. With renewed purpose, Amelia and Clara set to work. Clara, fueled by a quiet determination, drew the symbols onto the floor, mimicking the inscription above the window. Amelia, her voice hoarse with a mixture of fear and resolve, began chanting the counter-ritual. The room began to vibrate. The emerald glow pulsed and intensified, tendrils of darkness lashing out, seeking to engulf them. Amelia closed her eyes, pouring all her strength into the chant, a desperate plea against the encroaching entity. The struggle was fierce. The darkness, more potent than before, pushed back against their countermeasures. But this time, Amelia wasn't alone. Clara's voice, unwavering and strong, joined her in the chant, a powerful counterpoint that forced the darkness back. As they chanted, a memory surfaced in Amelia's mind, a fleeting glimpse from the forbidden book. Not just the counter-ritual, but a final act, a sacrifice required to banish the entity forever. Tears welled up in her eyes. The sacrifice was a piece of oneself, a cherished memory offered to the void. But with a fierce determination, she focused on the happiest memory she had, a childhood picnic with her family, filled with laughter and warmth. With a final, agonizing scream, she ripped that memory from her grasp, offering it to the darkness. The effect was immediate. The emerald glow shrieked, the tendrils recoiling with a sickening snap. The window shattered, and a chilling wind whipped through the room, sucking out the remaining vestiges of the entity. Silence descended, heavy and oppressive. Exhausted and emotionally drained, Amelia and Clara collapsed onto the dusty floor. They had won, but at a terrible cost. The following days were a blur of news reports and investigations. The source of the unnatural energy remained a mystery, the authorities attributing it to a freak atmospheric anomaly. Blackwood Academy shut down for good, its secrets buried beneath layers of dust and time. Amelia and Clara, forever bound by their shared experience, moved on with their lives. But a part of them remained forever lost, a sacrifice made in the name of stopping a darkness they couldn't fully comprehend. On quiet nights, under the watchful gaze of the stars, Amelia would sometimes feel a pang of loss, a bittersweet echo of the memory she'd surrendered. The darkness, however, wasn't entirely vanquished. In the deepest recesses of the abandoned Blackwood Academy, a single window remained boarded up, a faint emerald shimmer occasionally flickering from within, a chilling reminder that some stories never truly end, and the whispers of the unknown continue to echo in the shadows.